Crimea, even though he denied that they were. And then they later seized the Ukrainian peninsula in just a matter of weeks. But it was 6 years earlier, when the world's attention was on the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing, when Putin targeted the former Soviet Republic of Georgia, invading the country in a 5-day conflict, killing more than 400 people, and installing pro-Russian leaders in 2 former provinces of Georgia, now breakaway republics. My next guest was a political leader as that 2008 invasion played out. I want to bring in right now the president of the country of Georgia, Salome Zurabichvili. Madam President, thank you so much for joining us. You've said Vladimir Putin is waging an all-out war on Ukraine. Do you think in this war he's trying to annex the entire country, or is he just going to take select regions? What do you guess?
Well, it doesn't look anymore that he's just aiming at annexing a few regions. It now looks that he's destroying the whole country. It's a war of mass destruction in a way. And when he says, I heard his declarations today that all of that is moving according to plans, I'm not so sure that it's according to plans. It looks like he hoped or he thought that it was going to be much easier to obtain the results of rendition that he probably expected from this government. He was not planning on the way Ukraine is resisting. He had a mass assault that was very psychological also, with these forces that were used from all sides, and it has not worked. Of course, militarily, he has superiority, which one day or the other will manifest itself, but the determination and the resistance of the Ukrainian people and leadership is really very admirable.
Putin's invasion of Georgia lasted 5 days. That was just obviously to get those 2 breakaway republics. His annexation of Crimea in 2014 took about a month. But this is a much larger seizure. Ukraine is about the size of Texas. How do you think this is going to end? A full Russian occupation of all of Ukraine in perpetuity? A puppet government? What do you think the strategy is here for Putin?
Well, that's what I was saying, that I think that his strategy has not worked as he thought. Now, what is the new strategy? What is the new plan that he has? It looks more like trying to occupy the whole of Ukraine, taking the cities at whatever cost, even civilians. One thing is clear, though. His pretension that this was one nation and one people, and that he reiterated today, will never be true again. This never will be one people after the destruction, including in the regions Russian-speaking that he considered as being so close as to be brothers. The way he's been treating these cities, these people, these civilians, the children, means that he has created really not one people, but people that will be his enemies.
If Putin does ultimately succeed in conquering Ukraine, are you worried that he's going to turn his attention to other former Soviet states, such as, for example, Georgia?
Well, his attention, as you mentioned, was already turned once to Georgia, and Russian attention to Georgia is something that historically has been quite often turned to Georgia. So, of course, we are always attentive, always worried, because we have an occupation line. We have 2 regions, 20% of Georgia's territory, military bases in those 2 regions that could at any time move. But that doesn't mean that Georgia has changed its path towards European, Euro-Atlantic integration. And in fact, today we have entered our plea for membership the same way as Moldova and yesterday Ukraine. And that means that those 3 countries, the trio of EU associated members, is moving down the same path. So yes, you can try to frighten the countries. That doesn't mean that you change their orientation, that you change their determination to keep their independence, and independent sovereignty means that you choose your allies, you choose the organizations in which you want to integrate.
What do you make of the conversations that we've heard from, for instance, it's been reported in European newspapers that French President Emmanuel Macron says that this is not the same Putin that he met with in 2019, that the isolation of the last 2+ years because of COVID has really made him far more erratic, and we saw some very emotional outbursts by him that were uncharacteristic. Do you think that something is going on with him emotionally or mentally?
But it must be probably very isolating to be in the position he is, with nobody that probably can diverge from his views or make any other opinion. Now he's isolated of almost the whole world. He has some countries that do not oppose him, but they're not very much in line with his actions in Ukraine. So he's very alone. How that does affect his psychology, that I wouldn't know how to say. We do not have diplomatic relations with Russia. I do not have meetings with Putin, so I do not know him from close. And I wouldn't say how that affects him, but he looks and sounds very isolated and more aggressive even in his speeches.
The president of Georgia, Salome Zorovichvili, thank you so much for talking to us today. Please come by anytime.
I wanted to add just one thing, that I talked just today to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and he has reiterated the support of the United States to Georgia's sovereignty and integrity. And at this time, it's a very important thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam